Before you start spamming away in my comment section, I am not wrong. The WNBA does deserve a lot more respect. Now, I know everyone that has a problem with the WNBA is like, it's not exciting and blah, blah, blah. And they've probably also been told not to like the WNBA, so that's where their disapproval comes from. But the truth is, if you really love basketball, you know that the WNBA is legit. Look at what the Aces are doing right now. They are on pace to have a higher winning percentage than the 73-9 Warriors, and no one cares. That is sad because they are more dominant than the greatest NBA team we have ever seen. The MVP from last year's finals isn't even considered the best player on the team, and you could argue that she isn't even top 3 because Kelsey Plum and Candace Parker are on the team, and of course the best player on the team is A'ja Wilson. This is a super team. But I don't even think they are the best team in the WNBA because the New York Liberty have arguably the best player in the world in Breanna Stewart, who is definitely the best player every year she is healthy, in my opinion. They also have the woman who broke Steph Curry's three-point contest record in Sabrina Ionescu. Oh, and don't forget about 2021's league MVP in Jonquel Jones. I personally believe that the Liberty are the best team, but then again, it's hard to argue against the team that won it all last year and then added Candace Parker, who is one of the best players in WNBA history. But we already know a lot about those teams, so let's talk about the sleepers. I'll tell you right now, if Arike Agumbawale catches fire like we know she can, the Aces could be in trouble because, again, anything is possible and nothing is ever certain. I am certain that Arike is a certified bucket, though. I don't know if the Lynx are really a threat to the Aces, but they have one of my favorite players in Nafisa Collier, who I think is very, very, very good. So I'll just shout them out real quick. The Mercury have just not had a great season, but it's great to see Brittany Griner back on the court. I wish I could say Seattle was going to compete with anybody, but they're last in their conference. So instead of talking about them as sleepers, let's just talk about Jewel Lloyd. We need to appreciate the season she's having because you would think without Sue Bird and Breanna Stewart, she would be having a harder time scoring. That has not been the case at all. She is allowed to cook now, and she is absolutely cooking. Now, the Liberty are in a tougher conference, so the path to a championship is harder, but again, they are my favorites to win it all still. The Connecticut Sun traded away their MVP in Jonquel Jones and are still one of the best teams in the WNBA. So I'm not going to count them out. This team has been the most consistently good team over the last 5 years in the WNBA, and just don't sleep on them. I know we're looking at the two super teams, but the Connecticut Sun are always right there in the hunt. So who knows? Maybe it's going to be their year. The Mystics really are a good team. They just have an unlucky superstar in Elena Delle Donne because she is very injury prone. It's similar to AD in a way because when they both are healthy, they're top tier players, but they are hurt a lot. But we ain't talking about any comparison, so sorry about that. Anyways, the Mystics with a healthy Delle Donne is always a threat to anybody. The Atlanta Dream have a proven bucket in Ryan Howard and could make a shocking run if all things go right for them, but I still think that the Sun and Mystics are the only two real threats to the Liberty in the Eastern Conference. I am very excited for the rest of the season, but I know people still have many complaints about the WNBA, but those reasons are very stupid and are just based on your bias against the league itself. Don't get me wrong, I do understand some of the complaints, so I'll talk about them real quick, but some are really, really stupid. If you say the games are really boring to watch, like, you can't tell me that there's not boring NBA games as well, and there's not boring college games. Like, there's some games that are really good and some games that are really bad. That's just how sports are. So why are you holding it against the league itself? Because if you're going to watch the Denver Nuggets play last year's Pistons, it would be a boring game. And even the first round for the Nuggets against the Timberwolves, it was a boring game. So why is it such a problem when it's the WNBA having a landslide of a game? That's just because you're mad that the league exists and you just have a low basketball IQ and you don't appreciate the game of basketball. So shut up and stop complaining about it being boring. You say that the WNBA doesn't bring in enough money. I'm not going to argue with that. I will say, though, that the WNBA probably takes place during the worst time for sports in the year, which is the summer. So that's my only thing with that, but I'm not going to argue against that point. And then I'll just touch on this final reason because it is very laughable to me because it clearly comes from people that either don't watch basketball or don't really appreciate basketball, and it just comes from people that love to hate on the WNBA. This argument is that they are not good. These women can hoop. They are legit. Now, the only thing that you're mad about is that it might not be as entertaining, but don't say that they can't hoop. They are elite basketball players. And if you have an opinion that they just suck or they're not good, you probably developed that opinion from watching one low light montage and are like, oh man, they're terrible. I'm never watching this. No, they're good. There's NBA clips of that happening too. Shut up and appreciate the women that play the game of basketball because they are very good. And since I just talked about all the stupid problems, I will say that the biggest problem for me when it comes to the WNBA is the parity because the good teams are really, really good and the bad teams are really, really bad. So that leads to a lot of mismatched games. But once you watch it in the playoffs, it's elite. There's elite basketball being played. And I think that's the same with every sport. It's just there's not as many teams in the WNBA. So the more the WNBA expands, like every league starts small and then expands. So once the WNBA expands and starts to get better as a league, this problem won't happen as much. But that's my only complaint that I have. Now, I do think they should add the 4-point line to the WNBA and not the NBA, since a lot of these women can shoot from 4-point range. I'll tell you that right now. So that's the only thing that I think is problematic is the parity. And to make the game more entertaining, I would add the 4-point line, but those are the only two things that I think need work in the league, if that makes sense. But other than that, a lot of the nonsense that's talked about the WNBA is just really stupid. And they deserve more respect as a league and more respect as players and more respect as women. And I'll say it again, if you truly love basketball, you appreciate the WNBA because it is a very good basketball league. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and comment because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of comments to this video. So just start spamming them. Don't expect me to reply though if they're stupid. Bye.